So this cannot send send, of course. Problem here. Let's try to figure that out. Hmm. Okay, let me save this. Back to Postman. What else? Send the same error. Res.write head. Um, okay. Okay, so since we're sending right head, this should not be sent. Yeah, we can end this here. I'm very sure. Yeah, we can end this here. So in order not to have duplicate, yeah, okay, good. So the reason why I used end, of course, is because we've written the head already. If we're not doing this, then we can, of course, just use the send. But I definitely like to showcase the data type on the header, so that Postman and your browser can decode this very well to understand that we're expecting a data of an image, instead of trying to convert it automatically to text. So Postman is doing this, which is the client, is doing this conversion automatically, so you don't get the right formats, and that is why we have to write the head first. So tell Postman that we're expecting, or to tell your client we're expecting an image type. Um, Finally, also setting up the length before ending this request. So this is basically what you would do. I can decide to use my name, and of course you get a different data. You can use a QR code reader to capture this, and I'm very sure you would see a bunch of stringly defined texts, right? Because we just stringified the whole thing. Ideally, you might want to make this look more presentable. You can say, okay, I did this, so something like, you might decide to make this more presentable, maybe like saying data, sorry, let's data, and you can decide to do something like this, and you can say id, right? Id, which is data.id. So let's call this data object. You don't need to do this, right? I mean, I don't want you to do this. You don't have to spend your time doing this. All I want is to see the QR code. But you can do something like this. You can do first name. So this is quite straightforward, yeah. So name, and you can do the same, yeah, first name. So at the end of the day, you can pass in this data in here. Let's go. I don't think this is necessary for me for this call. It's more like, okay, let's do it so we can have a good, a well presented data. So we have last name, date created, and registration URL. Last name, we have dates created, we have registration URL, and of course, we just have to pick this straight in here. Date created. So I want to very sure that you can still hear me, please, because it seems like my network kind of went off. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, so you said no. Okay, fine. So what I did is basically, what I did is basically call these endpoints, generate QR code. I'm pretty sure everybody saw my screen when I wrote that simple code base to just, to generate the base for image using the buffer. So all I know is I'm change the endpoint. We want to create a different function, different handler, as you may call it. So, to generate the image file, then we can share the link and generated. Right. This is the image app that was generated. Yeah. So I think it's quite understandable what we have. Um, Okay, so we are sending the image. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's create a new method. Time our methods our methods send the generated image. Would probably we'll put the generated image in a folder. So people can call it like public or uploads. I think uploads is fine. So let's start by creating a new route dot post, right, and we're going to call this QR code link, or let's just say get QR code link. Of course, you won't want to call your routes like this. This is not nice. Instead, you can have like maybe like QR code slash QR slash link. So just to say this is getting us the link. This is getting us the image itself, right? So you probably want to change this to QR code image, right? And so we're having this error. Oh, okay. So we're having this error, of course, for not found. And I'm going to see why we're having that error. Okay, I think I did not save. Yeah, I did not save. I just saved it now. So for the link, let's go ahead and also add our requests and response objects. Um, yeah, so we're going to reuse this code. Um, we're going to reuse this code, but you don't have to do something like this. So the moment you see that you are having duplicates, code base, probably you can just create a function to perform that operation, right? You can create a function and have return that value. So I think I would want to do that. So let's just do it this way. This is basically what I mean. We're going to create a simple function, and we're going to pass in the first name and the last name. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I can move this, and I can just call that function generates or get data, right? Get data. Or propagate first name, last name. So we have this, and then we'll return data. Okay, so we can do this. I think this would work. So we have let data equals propagate data, first name, last name. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the QR code image first to see if everything is still okay. So I think everything still works fine. I think you might also want to probably make this function an asynchronous function if you're going live, right? So that you can always await the function. So you can easily make this function an async function. I think async has to come here, if I'm not mistaken. No. Okay, so let's do let's let propagate, and then we can do this, right? Move this first. Am I correct here? I think I am not correct. Uh, Propagates, then we have equals. Then here we have equals just like this. Okay, so we can now have sync here and return data. Okay, so I don't know if probably you might have like something you want to return here. Of course, you can't return this, but along the line, maybe you might want to have something. You might want to return something here that might require like a network call. So yeah, just have this kind of structure to make sure that was a mistake. To make sure you're doing it right. So I'm trying to format this. What's the shortcut again? Okay. Okay, so at this point, we can have our async and we can await this, right? Why are my shortcuts not, they're not working? Oh, gosh. Okay, so we can also have the async here and, the same awaits, right? So instead of having duplicate data, we're doing the same thing. And of course, we're going to log this just to see res.send. So let's see if this is active. We've not done anything like data validation, but of course we're going to do that. So I'm going to call this QR code slash image, and then let's have another post. And this time we'll call it QR code slash link, right? So link, and here slash link. So we get done, which means this is active with the same body. Okay, so this is fine. All we have to do now is all we have to do now is to convert this item and then save it using QR code. I think it's QR code dot file. QR code dot to file. Yes. So we have. Let's take up the console. And the first thing I'm going to create is the file path, right? So let's create the file path, and I'll say equals uploads. So let's use the six, so we can have it's just like this. And we're going to call the data. When we return that data object, we are expecting to have the ID. So we can use the ID as the image name because the image has to be unique all the time. And of course, the ID is a UUID string. So yeah, it's unique. So we can stick to that and we can have .png. We don't have that folder created yet, so we can just create a folder. But of course, in your code, you can also create a folder by just importing the file module, FS, right? The file system. But let's just do that manually for now. So we have uploads. So this is going to go into uploads. Yeah, this should work. Okay, so QR code again to file, and then we have the file paths that we just created. Then we need to wrap up the JSON data. Yeah, I think what we need here is more like an object. Then we'll wrap this up, JSON stringify, and we'll pass in our data. Okay, so let's see. Am I making a mistake? JSON stringify. Okay, yeah, this is an object, right? So point, is it data? Yeah, data. So we need to point the data. So let me explain what's happening here. When you're using QR code dot to file, to file stream. So when you're using QR code to file, it actually expects a path, as you can see. Then it expects your data, which is what I passed in here as data, right? Which is the next item. The other items are also optional. If you want to have a callback, you can add a call. So you can see that VS Code is the expected parameters or arguments, which is what I just did here. I'm not using a callback. We don't need a callback, but you can use it or not. I did here, right? So of course I did not check for error here, but it's very simple. You can just say if error, right? So if there's an error, then maybe res.end. There was an error, right? So you end it there. I want us to do data validation first because, of course, there's so many ways our code base can experience errors, right? So for now, we have created this file. We're going to store this file in the file path we created here. And this is going to be the content of the image. Yeah. So since we're going to send the link of that part back to the client or the front end, so we can just say let's call this an image part. Okay, so we'll call this an image part, and I'm just going to call the process.env.host, and this should give us the host we have in here, right? Let's have HTTP, just like this. Okay, good. Okay, so this should give us that host. Then after getting the host, we want to put the slash uploads, then slash the file path now, right? The file path. Of course, this has to be called like this. Okay, let's just res.send. I think this should work. Image path. Okay, so if I call this, let us see what we get. Okay, so there's an error. Let's see where the error is coming from. Invalid argument. Okay, so invalid arguments to file. Okay, so I was suspecting there might be an error here. QR dot to file. Okay, where is this coming from? Oh, it did not put a comma there. I am sure that's the problem. Yeah. So we need to have a comma there. Okay, good. So we're able to get the image. Unfortunately, we have undefined.png. Let's see. Undefined. Okay, so something is wrong. Something is wrong. Data.id is giving us undefined. Let's see what the QR code looks like. Okay, so if the QR code is looking like this, it means the ID should be there, but we're not getting the ID. Okay, so what we're just going to do here is to see what this data looks like, right? So let's just say console log data, right? Um, okay, yeah. So let's just see what this looks like when we send this request. Let's see what we get. So we have ID, and this is the ID. Okay, so why is this not working? Why is this not working? Let's see why this is not working. So we still have undefined. Okay, that's weird. This should continue. Okay, so I am guessing we are still having undefined. Okay, fine. So what I'm going to do right now is let me do but then. So we have let file paths in here. Okay. So after I wait for this, console.log data.id. Undefined. Okay, so I think I need to really figure out where this is. Also, the table. I want to be sure what is going on here. Okay. Okay. Um, JSON.stringify. I thought I stringified it the other time. Let's see again. Okay. Data dot. Yeah. So please 1 minute. let's do it this way. Console.log data objects.id undefined. This is really weird. And yeah, so something tells me the problem we're having with this is now that we are sharing the same method, ideally, I'm not supposed to, I'm not supposed to, in order to make this ID work, I'm going to try something here. So please, I'm going to try something here. So this is the problem. This was stringified. In other words, this is a whole string. This is not an object, right? This is no longer an object. So this is the exact problem we're having here. Um, this would not work because this is not meant to work here. So what do we do? Uh, how do we how do we make this work? How do we make this work? Okay, so what we can do here is probably just return this data object. We just return data object here, and after we grab data objects, let's also call this. We're almost reusing the same code again, which I was not expecting us to use. So let's just call this data.id, and let's see if this would work this time around. So send, and this is working now. So that was a problem. That's why you have to also cross-check what we had in the function. Unfortunately, this is going to break. So we can now do this data object here and call data. Okay, now we have two controllers that will work. And try to also document your code. You can put some reasonable comments, using like you funds that relate with propagate stuff like that. So this is our image, and of course we can access our image from here. So this is quite simple, right? This is quite simple. We just have this. So I can just say um, this kind of comments. Okay, you have to post the name is a param of your last name, and we can just say the last name sent from the client. Okay, then you can put like a description if you want to, like an extra description. We can say this method or this function is not in a class, returns um, a propagated object. Um, Yeah, so let's just leave it that way. But of course, make sure you describe your methods very well. You can just copy and paste this here, just to explain what you have. Of course, if you have plans to write an external documentation, you can also do that. If you want to explain what you have in here, maybe you have some other engineers working with you. You can just go with the single line comments, and you can say this. You can say. Being 64 type image sends it to clients. So you say the return object, it's a string. Yeah, okay. So what do we have here? So this is simple, it's simple as well. So we're not able to validate this. How would we validate this within the next few minutes? There are so many libraries you can use. Before I talk about that, let me see if you have any questions in the chat. Go ahead and drop your questions if you have any question right now, based on what I've done. The reason why we spent much time is we I try to show you two different methods, of achieving the same results. Not necessarily like not exactly the same, but of course, very similar. So here we have the file generated, which means if we call this multiple times, we have multiple files. Yeah, and yeah. So if you had given me this, you're correct. If you also give me this, you're correct. You don't necessarily need to do all this, wrapping of data. You can just save the data object directly into the QR code for me, meaning you have lesser code. But this is going to make the data object inside the QR code even look better, right? And that's why we, had to do this. This is basically what gives you the functionality. This is just bringing out your data. Then let's talk about validation. So let's talk about validation. So so let's call this request body validation. So I would use a library called Joy. I love using Joy. You can try out some other libraries and pick which one works best for you. But Joy is very good, right? So Joy npm, and a lot of people use this. Um, yeah, a lot of people use this. A lot of big companies, even here in Nigeria, also use Joy. Some of the projects I've worked on, they use Joy for validation. There are some other alternatives. So, how do I know some of these things? You just come to Google and you say Joy alternatives, right? Joy alternatives, and you get some examples. This is tab 9. So, I think tab 9 will give you I think Tab 9 basically gives you a bunch of code to try. Tab 9 is an auto completion library. So just let's go to Joy Alternatives here, the second link. And of course, it's going to give us, yeah, I think I've seen some guys also use Yup, um, Superstruct, you see, for JS. So we have a lot of options here. We have a lot of options. So when you have a lot of options, how would you know which option is best for you? So this is a very big problem when it comes to Node, even when it comes to other languages like Python. When you have a bunch of libraries, you're not so sure. Most times you want to check things like rating and all that, but there are sometimes you have like multiple libraries with almost similar rating and you're confused. Which should I use? There is this website. Let's see. What is the name? Okay, so I'm going to check learn and build. I have most of these dead hints. No. DevOps Cloud work. Okay, so I think I might have to check this out and probably share with you because I can't seem to remember the exact name of the library. But I'm very sure I have the library in here. I'm very sure because I usually let's see. I even used it yesterday. NPM. Hmm, I'm very sure it's not dev hints. Um, Node.js library check. Let's see. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Open base. I think exactly open base. So I can just search for joy. Of course. Okay, so it's open base. Yeah, so this is what we're using right now. This is Joy. So when you open it this way, you can see the GitHub stars, the weekly downloads. The last time there was a comment on the code, the user rating, and the top feedbacks. Easy to use, great documentation. So this is how I usually try to know the best library to use. And always remember that you don't need to cram all these library codes. The thing is, these libraries have their documentation, so they've made it easy for you. You go look up the documentation, and in less than 1-2 hours, you're good to go with the library. They are quite easy to use. The same way you have Express with documentation, it's straightforward, right? That's how you have most of these libraries. When you see a library with bad documentation, probably you should look for something better. Yeah, so let me share this with you. I have a bunch of websites that can help you. Um, Oh, okay. So you said you still want to know why I wrap the data in a string. Okay, so let me show you why. Of course, if we decide to, just pass in the object, so let me show you what we're going to get if we decide to pass in this object directly, maybe in here. Let's look at what the QR code would look like, right? Hope this is not going to break our code anywhere. So this is a QR code image. So let us check this. Let us send. Okay, so I'm going to take a screenshot of this right now. Let me first delete the previous one. Yeah, to avoid conflicts. I'm going to take a screenshot. Yeah. Okay, then let's go back to the. I'm going to show you how to use Joy, but remember I've dropped the link to OpenBase. Check it out, and I'm sure you would really enjoy it. So, what is the name of this site we just? Can't remember. So I think it was a QR code something. Uh, was this scanner? No, it wasn't scanner. QR code reader. QR code. So I think it's web QR. Yes. Okay. So let's block the camera. Let us upload the. Yeah. Let's upload this. And this is what we have. Okay. So you see that this is coming with this. So it's looking like an object. I don't know if you get me. This is looking like an object. Imagine using your phone to capture this. It's going to try to arrange this like an object. Therefore, it's going to look very scattered. Sorry about that noise. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so yeah, so this is currently structured as an object, right? Let us take this. Let's bring this back in here, and let us take a new capture. Let's take a new screenshot. Take a new screenshot here. Okay, so upload a new one. Okay, so now you see what we have. That this looks more appropriate, right? This is a string, right, with a comma and everything looks even better. We can even use the line break in here to break all these lines, but. I hope you get the point. You get the point. So just for proper presentation, don't want to present an object when you don't want to see an object when you scan the QR code. You want to see a string, and I hope you understand. So drop a comment and let me know if you understand my explanation. Yeah. So for the validation, let's quickly do that. I think we're already late, but let's just quickly. So from the document implementation and API. Of course, to install it with npmi, is JOI, which is Joy. And then works is you have to import Joy. Of course, you have to create a schema and you have to validate based on the schema. So I'm going to show you this example. Let's just go ahead and import Joy here, and let's bring in the schema. You don't necessarily need to use, I mean, they're just showing you the complexity of what you can do. You can actually have try to specify that this is going to be an email address with two minimum domain segments, which means you should have the @ and the .com, that kind of stuff. Then, yeah, these are the allowed emails, com, net, you can specify, but we don't want to go that far. We're just working with the text, and we have to require this particular text. So this is what I'm going to do. Take in this part. I'm going to drop that here. Let's see. Also, yeah, I think because I've closed this. So we just have to bring that in, then validate. Let's see. Bring this in. We don't need all the minimum. So yeah, the minimum is to say we need minimum of 3 characters, right? If you're Chinese, then probably 2 characters would work. Then 30 max, so you can set the max if you want to 50 or 100. This should be alphanumerical, but of course, you don't want alphanumerical, so let's leave it this way. I would tend to put this on one line. So this is comma. This should be first name. That's what we're expecting. We're also expecting last name, right? And this is an object. Close the object right here. And the next thing we should do is to validate with the data coming on the backend. So you just have to do schema.validates. So schema.validates, right? And we have to validate with the object we're expecting, which is the request dot body, right? And then we can do dot then and dot catch if there's an error. Um, yeah, so of course you can also have a try catch in here, and within your try catch, then so we can do something like this catch. I think we should have. I personally, don't use try and catch for the. I love to use the JSON. So we can. I love to use the then and the catch, right? The then and the catch. All I have to do is to await this. If I want to use the then and the catch, yeah, I think I can definitely do that. So let's have I hope nothing is wrong here. We pass in the message. So this is a JSON object, right? So let's do this. The message and the status. So we can say status error, something like this. Of course, you have to have a good, properly defined what are you